So hi and welcome to my chat, and today I am going to have a conversation with my good friend Callahan Walsh. Hi Callahan.
Hey Sarah, how are you?
I'm really well, thanks. And Callahan, you are the Director for Strategic Advancement and Partnerships at NCMEC, you're partnering with us for the What is Human Trafficking campaign in collaboration with Liam Neeson, and you do incredible work. Now, NCMEC stands for the National Centre for Exploited and Missing Children. Can you share a little bit about what you do and why and how it started?
Sure, absolutely. So it's an organization I've been involved with almost my whole life because my parents were actually the co-founders of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children back when my brother Adam went missing in 1981. My parents were quick to realize that there was very little help for missing children at the time. There was barely a local response. The local police department didn't know how to look for Adam, didn't know what to do. In fact, didn't even want to start looking for him until 48 hours after he went missing, stating that he could be a possible runaway. And he was just a 6-year-old boy and never walked home from a school bus stop. And my parents they started going to Washington, D.C. and testifying, trying to change legislature in favor of children, in favor of these child victims. And again, they saw that there was just no national response mechanism in place. There was no organization out there to help children at the time. And my parents at the same time realized that there were a lot of other children out there like Adam, but unlike Adam, they weren't getting the same attention that Adam's case got. Adam was all over the news, all over the media, but he was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed little boy that the media, tends to gravitate towards. And my parents received the Hollywood Police Department's Hollywood, Florida, Hollywood Post Office believes that they delivered over 40,000 pieces of mail to my parents just after Adam's disappearance. Many letters of condolences, but many letters from other parents whose missing children weren't getting the same attention that Adam's case got. And we're also finding the same pitfalls that my parents found in the lack of response, the lack of support, the lack of resources. Mm-hmm. So my parents created the Adam Walsh Resource Center in their garage, just off a card table and a landline. I had a few volunteers early on, but it was President Reagan in 1984 that allowed for funding to be given to the Adam Walsh Resource Center. In fact, they changed the name to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. We moved the headquarters up to outside DC. The organization is now in its 36th year. We have over 350 employees and have helped recover over 330,000 missing children. It's an incredible story. Yeah, 330,000 children is a lot, but people so much think about us as the missing side. Amber Alerts, which we're the ones who send out, our missing poster distribution, all that. But the whole other side of the house is the exploited side, right? And that's children who are groomed and lured online. This is dealing with child sexual abuse material online, or child pornography, for lack of a better term. These are sex trafficking victims. We deal with that, and we've been at the forefront of that fight for just as long. In fact, we operate the cyber tip line, which is the national reporting mechanism for any suspected child sexual abuse online. And reports can be made by the public, by victims, by family members, but also many of those reports are made by internet service providers. So Google, Microsoft, Facebook, we have these incredible partners, but they're actually federally mandated to make these reports to us. That cyber tip line received over 16.9 million reports last year alone of suspected child sexual abuse, and many of those reports were child sex trafficking cases as well. And so because we sit at the center of these issues here in the US, we have the ability to not only assist law enforcement in their investigation, but we have the ability to spot trends, share that information out with all of our partners around the world, but also come up with some really great safety education programs as well too, and make sure they're research-based, because the face of sex trafficking in that landscape is really changing constantly. It's so tied to technology, and we know technology is just exploding across the globe. Internet has created life for the better in so many ways, but has created so many new ways to harm kids. And so we really are working hard to get with our survivors of sex trafficking to really fully understand, because first of all, every case is different, as you know. Every case of trafficking is different, but we really want to be able to spot the trends and find the best way we can combat these things. And a lot of that is getting that information from these survivors, but also having chats like this with you, sharing this information, talking with other partners, and getting this out to the public, because the public really can be our biggest advocates. Law enforcement can't be everywhere, but the eyes and ears of the public is just amazing. The fact that they can get out there, if they know the red flags, they know the signs, they can report. And I know you guys are really big about reporting. So are we. We can only deal with the cases that are reported to us. Many of these victims don't get the services that they need so desperately, and it's because they're not reported. We can't help the children that we don't know about.
It's so true. I just, what I find so moving is after the devastating loss of your brother, how your parents sort of turned that around and have produced this incredible organization. Obviously it's a family organization, isn't it? And that you've actually rescued, or you've found 330,000 missing children, and now through this tip line, how many more are being helped, especially in the area of prevention of human trafficking.
Absolutely. I grew up with my parents, like seeing them every day, putting their emotions, their anger, their energy towards this mission, to making sure that Adam, my brother, didn't die in vain. And I grew up with them saying, if Adam's song is to continue, then we must do the singing. And we're trying to do that every day at the National Center. I work with some incredible folks over there. This issue is initially dark, it's hard to talk about oftentimes, but and many of the folks that work at the National Center, this issue may not have affected them personally, and thank God for that. But they're just as, motivated to come in every single day and to fight for what's right, to fight for these children. These kids are the most vulnerable and most precious members of our society. And again, just honored to work with the folks at NCMEC and just be here to brag about all the good work that they do, because it really is amazing.
And what's horrifying is that human trafficking is the fastest growing illegal business in the world today.
Absolutely, because there's a monetary value to it, right? So we know exploiters, and we know prostitution has been around for ages and ages. But what we're seeing now is the children who are trafficked. That's where traffickers get the most money for. That's their highest priced commodity. And because there is a demand for this type of maladapted behavior, there's a supply, and that supply is our children. It's a disgusting act. It's something that we want to see snuffed out in every corner of the world. But it's because it has this economic drive behind it is what makes it so sustainable. And I think really finding the root of where the money kind of goes back and forth and hitting it from that angle, because really we have to hit it from every angle that we can. But really trying to make sure that not only is there not a demand for this type of stuff, but really try to snuff out that supply as well.
And have you seen an impact as a result of COVID?
We have definitely. So at the cyber tip line, as I mentioned, where we received 16.9 million reports last year, we've seen a pretty big increase during this COVID period. In fact, in April, we had over 318% increase in reports made to the cyber tip line.
Gosh.
And many of those being sex trafficking victims. Now, there's a couple reasons that, and it will take some time to dive into these numbers, but we do know there's a few reasons why those numbers have spiked. We had a few cases of child sexual abuse material that sort of went viral. And what's unfortunate is when they do go viral on social media, a lot of people will share those with family or friends or in their news feed or what have you, to try to bring attention to these cases. And while that's well intended, it's misguided, because one, it's illegal to share that content, but every time you share it, you're re-exploiting that child. And so again, want to stress how important it is to report these types of images and abuse material. If you see it on social media, report it on the platform and report it to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at our cyber tip line, or wherever you are around the world, wherever your tip hotline is, or your reporting mechanism. reach out to the proper authorities, because that's really what it's about. Really, please don't share these through your news feed. What we're also seeing is, of course, there's a huge increase in screen time, both parents and children. But because of the increased screen time for children, there's more opportunities for exploiters to target these kids, right? And so we've seen chatter even amongst the dark web of these exploiters saying, hey, this is a great time to try to coerce children and to groom children into either sending explicit imagery or luring them from the home, possibly into sex trafficking. And what's unfortunate is when a child is groomed and lured from the home because they were lured and they went on their own volition, they're categorized as a runaway. So it's not oftentimes where these children are kidnapped per se. They're going into the open arms of predators willingly, but we know law enforcement and the media don't really look for runaways the same as they look for an abducted child. And so it's really important for parents to understand that, hey, even if your child is sitting on your couch, even if they're home at your house and you think, oh, they're in a safe place, you don't exactly know who that child is talking to when they're on these devices. And they're on these devices, all day, every day at this point. And that's just why it's so important for parents to really try to understand that technology, have ongoing conversations with their kids about safety and safe decision-making, especially, online. And lastly, we also saw a change and a switch in some of these sex traffickers because the buyers were reluctant to meet for commercial sex in person. And so what a lot of these exploiters were doing is changing to sort of subscription-based services and selling images and videos of these children because, again, the buyers were reluctant to meet in person. So we did see that, and we're actually starting to see that kind of go back to the regular commercial sex a little bit more. But definitely during COVID, we were seeing the sort of system switched up a little bit by the exploiters. We also saw an increase of our missing children's cases as well, not just cases to our cyber tip lines, but cases of our missing children, many of them runaways. Runaways are the number one reported category for children going missing here in the US, reported to the National Center. Something like 91% of our cases are runaways. We call endangered runaways because many of these children are again groomed or lured from the home, and we know 1 in 6 runaways is likely a sex trafficking victim. So again, it's 1 in 6 of our runaways exactly are likely a sex trafficking victim because they have no support system, right? They're out there on the streets, they're out there, they're so much more susceptible, and they are targeted by these predators purposefully, and it's something that we've seen here at the National Center, but something that we've been really trying to expose and shed a light on, that these runaway children are not in a safe place when they run from the home. And COVID has created a lot more of these stressors that will sort of be the reason why some of these children may run as well. So, you have kids who are in foster care, group homes, and their family visits have been cut off because of COVID-19, and they may run, they may hit the streets because of that. Similarly, if a child is recovered, some of those group homes do not want to bring that child back to the group home because of the fear of spreading COVID to some of the other children. And so, these victims, these survivors, they're just in such a tough place. They're in a tough place to begin with, and COVID just has not made it any easier at all.
And how much, how much better is it, the timing with us launching the What is Human Trafficking campaign in collaboration with Liam Neeson, and I want to thank you so much for your partnership with us. Why did NCMEC feel it was important to partner with It's a Penalty for this campaign?
Well, I think with the increased numbers to our cyber tip line, the increased numbers of our missing children reports, now is no better time. We really have to get this information out there because of these increases and because there's so many more of these victims out there that need the help. But it's the public that needs the information. That's what's so great about the video is Liam gives some of the red flags, right? And there's a lot more training that can go on with folks and how to spot these things, but it's such a great short little clip. You know, we live in this sort of digital age where, you know, there's just so much information coming at us from all different angles that sometimes just getting it in that bite-sized format is that first step that somebody needs to take. They kind of start to realize, oh, okay, this is how I can understand these issues, and this is how I can fight back. And in partnering with you guys is just fantastic because you have such a great reach. You know, that video is fantastic. You've worked with so many partners to get as many eyeballs on it as possible. And right now it's more important than ever to have this information out there. So, you know, as a partner, I want to thank you guys for putting it together and partnering with us to get this message and information out there and really arm the public with the right tools and information that they need to help fight back and help report these instances and help recover these children.
Yeah, thanks so much, Callahan. And for those of you who are watching this who haven't seen the 2-minute video, Liam Neeson video, then please go to the It's a Penalty social media handles. You can watch it on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, and indeed you can also watch it on NCMECs social media. You can also go to the It's a Penalty website if you want to make a report from anywhere in the world. Press on Make a Report. We've developed a map of the world, and wherever you are in the world, you can click on that part of the world and different mechanisms will come up, whether you're a victim or whether you suspect you've seen something. And I also want to encourage you to go to knowthesignsnow.org, and you can watch the video, you can share it, because it's already been seen by 3.3 million people since we launched it, a few weeks ago. We just want to keep pushing it out so that people can be educated, just like Callahan said, about what are the signs to look out for and how can you make a report. And finally, today, the 1st of October, we're launching the 30-second version of this What is Human Trafficking video with Liam Neeson on 4 airlines. It's launched today on Japanese Airlines, Emirates, Cathay Pacific, and American Airlines. It's also going to be shown in Hilton hotels and Miami Airport, and also some cinemas, Village Roadshow cinemas in Australia, throughout Australia. So the joy about this video is that it has longevity, and you know, the idea is that it can run as long as it needs to run for people to be educated about what is human trafficking and what can they do to help prevent it. So thank you so much, Callahan, and thank you for the amazing work that you and your team do at NCMEC, and good talking.
No, thank you very much just for having me. You know, we don't operate in a bubble at the National Center. It's really all about sharing, collaborating with partners like yourself and getting this information out there to the public. So thank you for having me today and this great partnership. Looking forward to seeing this video all around the world.